Okay, Boker Tov, Shavua Tov. We are starting the new perek, Bezrat Hashem, the 10th perek, at the bottom of Samech Vav Amud Bet 67b. Here we go. Na'ara ha'me'urasa, aviha u'ba'ala mefiri nedareha. So now the whole time we've been talking about making neders. Now we're talking about getting rid of neders, not with your own petach, but through hafara. Hafara is where a lady makes a neder, and if she is, so there's the three stages of a woman's life. Ketana, till age 12. 12 to 12 and a half is a na'ara. 12 and a half and on is a bogeret. So it seems like a bogeret, when she makes a neder, her father cannot undo it. Ketana, I think also through Na'ara, a father could undo it. So, and it's within 24 hours. So if the father hears the neder, and then 24 hours goes by, it said he can't undo it anymore. But if he hears it and he wants to undo it, he says, no, mafir your neder, hafarat nedarim, your neder is obsolete. And there's another situation, is when a lady's married. So even if she's I think even if she's a bogeret, I think marriage her whole life. If she's married, so at any time she says a neder, the husband could undo it within 24 hours. Now the question here is, she is a na'ara me'urasa. She's a na'ara, so she's within 12 to 12 and a half, and she's me'urasa. She's in the irusin. She's in the first stage of marriage, irusin and the nesuin. So she is not living with her husband yet, but she did irusin. If she wants to get out of that marriage, there's a get that needs to be done. So it's in a quasi state. She's not fully living with her husband, and she's not fully out of her father's house. So in this case, you need both the father and the husband to do hafarat nedarim. Both the father and the husband to do hafarat nedarim. So that's na'ara me'urasa avia u'ba'ala mefiri nedareha. So we're going to see that it's not, it sounds like avia uba'ala, meaning like maybe her father or her husband. No, but it's and. Let's continue reading the Mishnah. Hefer ha'av v'lo hefer ha'ba'al. If the father says, "Oh, that neder, it's gone. You can't. I don't agree with that neder," and the husband does not say that, he keeps the neder. Or hafar ha'ba'al. Or the husband, it does hafarat nedarim to the me'urasat, and not the father. Eno mufar. It's not mufar, and the neder stays intact. Ve'en tzarich lomar shekiyem echad mehem, and we don't even have to say that one of them was mekayem the neder. Meaning there is another thing called mekayem. There's mekayem the neder, meaning there is like when you listen to the neder and you're quiet, so quiet doesn't disturb the neder. It doesn't break the neder because you're quiet. You agree, but it doesn't show that you agree to it until 24 hours go by. You could also though be mekayem the neder. So the lady says a neder, and then the husband or the father says, "Ani mekayem the neder. I agree to that neder." So that's an action that you're doing that holds up the neder. We're going to see. Can you now go back and say, "No, now I want to do hafarat nedarim," right? So you're mekayem the neder is so the Mishnah is ending here. We don't even have to say that if one is mekayem the neder, because you need both. So if one is mekayem the neder, but the other one does hafarat nedarim, so the neder still stays because you need both to do hafarat nedarim. So we don't even have to say that one does kiyum. Meaning, if we need two over here, we need the husband, the arus, and the father. So we need both of them to say hafarat nedarim in order for the neder to go obsolete. So we said if one does and one doesn't, the neder still stands. All the more so if one says it's kayam, and one says hafarat nedarim, then it's going to stand. even if you're just quiet, and the other one does hafar nedarim instead. So all the more so. Okay. It's a little bit redundant. We're going to see that in the run that the Mishnah starts by saying you need the father or the husband, like you need both, and then it actually speaks it out. The father does have nadarim, not the Baal, or the Baal does have nadarim, not the husband. Isn't that the same thing? Let's see. Let's look at the run on Samech Vav Amud Bet. The first run on this Mishnah, Na'ara Meurasa, Avihu Ba'ala Mefir Nedarim. This is the run. Afilu Nedarim Shenadra Be'oda Pinuya. It sounds like over here maybe even more than 24 hours. I mean, it says the run that Nedarim, that she even said when she was a Pinuya, when she was single, he could do hafara. Maybe within the first 24 hours that he becomes an arus. Even Nedarim that she said when she was single, the arus mefer bekodmin, an arus does hafarat nedarim on early nedarim, beshutfute de'av, in conjunction with the shutfut, with the partnership of the father. Kediti beGmara, like it says in the Gemara, v'na'ara denakat, that it says v'na'ara, la'afuke bogeret, to exclude a bogeret, to exclude a girl that's over 12 and a half. She'en le'avia reshutba, a father doesn't have any permission anymore to get rid of her nedarim. Ve'eno mefer nedareha, he has no permission, no reshut over her. I think what it means here is to marry her off against her will after 12 and a half. Ve'eno mefer nedareha, and does not get rid of her nedarim. Ve'arus nami, and the arus as well, below shutfute de'av, without the partnership of the father, lo matzi mefer, he is not able to do hafara nedarim. Avahua din nami, but so too as well, the bat yud alef shana, let's say a girl's 11, she's still ketana, shenedareha nivdakim, the av ve'arus meferin nedareha. Nedara nivdakim, like her nedarim are checked, meaning they could still be checked and undone. So here as well, the father and the arus meferin nedareha, meaning a ketana too. It could have said a ketana me'orasa avion u'ala meferin nedareha. Say a father marries off his daughter at 11, and then the first stage of marriage is irusin. So at that stage, let's say she makes a neder as an 11-year-old. In that case as well, you need the father and the arus to undo it. So why did it say na'ara, not ketana? To tell us even more. Not only ketana, but even a na'ara, even a girl up to age 12 and a half, that you also need the father and the arus, and not just the husband. Yeah. So all the way through na'ara. Okay. Let's see the Gemara. Says the Gemara, Hainu Reisha asks the Gemara, it's the same as the beginning of the Mishnah. It asks this question that isn't like it's like kind of redundant. Hefer ha'av v'lo hefer ha'ba'al, or hefer ha'ba'al v'lo hefer ha'av eno mufar, isn't it the same as na'ara murasa aviyav u'ba'ala mefer nedareha, that you need both? So the one asks, Hainu Reisha, it's the same as the beginning part of the Mishnah. Aviyav u'ba'ala mefer nedareha, that it says aviyav u'ba'ala mefer nedareha, the father and you need both. So answers the Gemara, Ma'ud tema o aviha o ba'ala ktani. Kamash malan. Says the Gemara, you would have thought that from the first line of the Mishnah, it's o avia o ba'ala. Either you need either or, could do it on their own. So the Gemara comes to the answer. That's why we needed to say, speak it out for you. If the father does it without the husband, or the husband does it without the father, it's not going to work. You need both. So let's take a look at the Ran Mahud Tema. The fourth line down on the left side. Mahud Tema Avi O Ba'ala. You would have thought or either one on their own. Velosagi le delitni achi frushenehem. It wouldn't be enough to say, just say the words achi frushenehem until both of them do hafara. Titana hachi. If it would have said that, Havamina, one would have thought that losagi b'hafarat baal ad delefer av. You'd have thought that the husband doesn't. If I say shnehem, achi yifru shnehem, you would have thought that the husband doesn't work until you have the father also. B'hafarat av lechude sagi. You would have thought maybe if the father does it on his own, it would work. And we're talking about now a girl that's engaged. So okay, she has now the husband has some power now. Until now, the father, he could do it on his own. Now that she's engaged, for lack of a better purpose, we'll call her engaged. Now that she's engaged, let's say we would say the word shnehem. You need both of them. So you might think the husband, he can't do it on his own. You need shnehem. He's not fully married, so he'll need the husband. If the husband does it, he'll need the father to back him up also. But the father doesn't lose his full right. He could do it on his own. You might think that he could do it on his own. That's why we had to speak it out. And not just to say shnehem. Or the other way around, you might say that now that the father lost his, because now that maybe the arus could do it on his own. He's married somewhat. He could do it on his own. You might think that if the father does have hafara nedarim, and he can't do it on his own, he needs the husband. But the husband might be able to do it on his own. So therefore, you need to speak it out. Like we're going to go with the back and forth in the Gemara. We're going to do it. It's coming up. That's why I had to say speak out both. Okay. Gemara. 5 lines down. ואין צריך לומר שקיים אחד מהם. And it goes without saying that one of them was mekayem the neder. One of them was mekayem the neder. Says the Gemara, Lama li lemitna hashta yesh lomar hafer ze belo ze velo klum kiyem echad mehem lama li tzricha lemitna. It's all one long question. What's the question again? The Bach takes up the words over here of Lama li lemitna. Why does it have to teach Hashta yesh lomar? Why does it have to say these words? Hashta yesh lomar hafer ze belo ze velo klum. Like that's if one does hafara and one doesn't do hafara. Kiyem echad mehem lama li lemitni, lama li tzricha lemitni. So the Gemara is asking, why is it that I need to say this last line? You don't have to say if one of them is mekayem. Well, that's for sure. So if it's all for sure, don't say it. You don't need to say it even. Because again, the Mishnah says you need 2 together to do hafara nedarim. The arus and the father. So you need both to do it. So if one says hafara and one says nothing, the neder still stands because you need both to do hafara. So the Mishnah says, and all the more so if one is mekayim. Fine, we know that. That's obvious. That it's not that the neder is still going to stand. So why we don't need to mention it though? The Mishnah is always looking for the shortest route. And it's looking for the shortest route because back in the day, this was the Mishnayot were written because it was Torah Shebaal Peh. Everything was Torah Shebaal Peh, and then like literally nothing written down. Everything from Rebbe to student by memory. They wrote their own maybe personal notes, but they didn't. It wasn't actually. And then, unfortunately, due to different wars, different enemies, we were forgetting things. We had to write things down. But they wrote things down in a very, very concise way because we're not really supposed to write things down. Et lasod Hashem, the Rambam writes. We had to do it. We had to write it down. So they wrote in the most concise way. And then, unfortunately, things got worse. So therefore, they had to write the Gemara. But in the most concise way, that means that everything has a purpose, and there shouldn't be anything extra. And so the Gemara says, why do we need to say it for? It's extra. Okay. Says the Gemara. Answers the Gemara. Ki itzrich le, we need it. Kegon te'afer echad mehem v'kiyem echad. For instance, the case is one does hafara. A lady says the neder. And then let's say the father does hafara. And the husband, v'kiyem echad, he does a kiyum. He says, what? Dad, you're doing father-in-law, you're doing a hafara over here? I'm doing a kiyum for my new wife. She says she doesn't want to eat apples anymore. I agree with that. So one does hafara, one does kiyum. The chazara mekayem v'nish'al ala kamato. The one that does kiyum, he wanted to do chazara. The father says, yeah, if you don't do that, you don't listen to me, I'm not going to give you any money to start off your wedding. Oh, okay. So he goes and he wants to ask on his kiyum. Just like you could ask on Nedarim, and undo a neder, you could also ask on your kiyum. So the Gemara is saying like this: Ki itzrich lekegon te'afer echad mehem v'kiyem echad mehem v'chazara mekayem v'nish'al al kamato. And the one that did kiyum, he went and he asked to undo his kiyum. Ma'odetema, you would think, my deuki ha'akre, what he established, he undid. And now kork, now you have two that did hafara. Kamash malan, the Mishnah comes to teach us, the mefirim shnehem bevat achad, that the hafara has to be together. So the hafara has to be together, and this won't work. The neder would still stay intact. That's what the Mishnah wants to teach us. When the Mishnah says, it doesn't even have to say that if one does a kiyum, it's not going to work. What that means is, well, it was obvious if the person does a kiyum, it's not going to work because you need both to do hafara. The Gemara is explaining what this means is one did hafara, one did kiyum, one undid his kiyum. It's not going to work. It's still not going to work because you need two to do hafara at the same time, and that's the first explanation of what this means. At the same time, bevat achat, and not hafara and kiyum. And then you undid the kiyum and did hafara. No, that's not good enough. It needs to be hafara together. So that's the lesson over here. That if you undid your kiyum, it doesn't work, and the neder is going to be still intact. Okay. Okay, so it seems like there's a not getting it completely, but it seems like there's a machloket from the Ran brings down between the Rambam and the Ramban. If it needs to be vat achat, like at the same time, mamash, or not, and when it's not at the same time, really the explanation here is that there's just nothing that interrupted it. Meaning, you could have one do hafara in the morning, and one do hafara that evening. But as long as one didn't do a kiyum in the middle, and then change his mind, it would still be a good hafara, and it would get rid of the neder. So again, this lady makes a neder. Now, the husband and the father hear it. So let's say the husband right away says, so it sounds like according to the Gemara, you need both at the same time. Now, this 24-hour rule, like what's with that? I don't know. But it seems like maybe the 24-hour rule doesn't, according to the opinion that it's at the same time, mamash, it has to be at the same time, mamash. It sounds like according to the Rambam that it doesn't, it just means together and nothing to interrupt it. So one does hafara in the morning, one does hafara in the evening, provided that nobody did hakama, a kiyum in the middle, and then undid his kiyum. That would be a case that, sorry, you can't do a hafara anymore. Once you did a kiyum, then it breaks the thing. And now you undo your kiyum. That's nice, but it doesn't work.
What is the aleph there in Kamash Malana Mafiyim Shneim B'vat Achad? There is an aleph.
Yeah, the aleph, the halacha.
That's halacha?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question is, it's a good question to look up. Let's check the Shulchan Aruch. You're there, Rish Lamed Dalet. You're there, Rish Lamed Dalet.
Makes sense that it has to be within the same day. Not Achad. Right?
Yeah, same day. The only thing is that what it means here, either at the same time, mamash, or it means that one in the morning, one in the evening, but so long as nobody did a kiyum in the middle, like a kiyum and then undid the kiyum, that's going to break it.
But Achad could also mean that they both have to be in the presence of each other.
Maybe, but that generally means at once.
Yeah.
At once. You want to pass me the Shulchan Aruch? Let's take a look at the Shulchan Aruch. See your redea. I think Gimel. Yeah. That's it. Thank you. This will be it. Resh Lamed Dalet. Yeah. So Shulchan Aruch. Resh Lamed Dalet. See Vav. Im kiyam ha'echad. Afilu chazar v'nish'al hakama eno yachol ha'afer im hasheni. He just brings the last. He says, so it sounds like the Rambam that says if one does a kiyum, afilu chazar v'nish'al hakama, even though he does a she'ela on his hakama, eno yachol ha'afer im hasheni. He cannot do hafara with the second guy. So one did hafara, the other does a kiyum, and then he undoes his kiyum. You can't join with the hafara with the second guy. That's it. Yeah, it's like doing an action to do a kiyum. Meaning, so long as you're quiet, so as a guy does in the morning, and the other guy's quiet, thinking about it. And then in the afternoon, evening, he does the hafara also, and then it works. Being quiet is not, it doesn't show kiyum. But doing a kiyum saying, I'm mekayim, the neder, and that's it. Okay, so it sounds like it doesn't have to be much at the same time, but once you once you do a kiyum, you can't, and you want to undo it, you're not going to join. See where it says vav? So we're going to go up to here in the Gemara, but let's take a look at the Ran. There's an interesting question, an answer from the Rashba. The next Gemara for tomorrow night is going to be. We're going to start from the two dots and get through the end of the daf. Talks about where minalan, which is always like where is the source? Give me the psukim for all this. That a father and the arus, they could do hafara, they have to do hafara together. So that's for tomorrow. But let's take a look at the Ran. See where it says v'hiksha harashba in the middle sized lines, about halfway through at the end of the line. V'hiksha harashba zal. Zichron Livracha is the last. Zal is the last word on the line. You have it? Right over here.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right over there. V'iksha Rashba Zal. Amayam Rinan So the Rashba asks an interesting question. Amayam Rina da Hafara Kamaita Batlala. Why are we saying that the first Hafara is Batel? De'ala Batar de Itshil al Hakamato. And why are we saying, he's asking, why are we saying that if a guy does a kiyum and then he undoes his kiyum, it doesn't work? That's what he said. That's the whole Gemara over here. So he's asking on that. Why should that be? Once he asks on his hakama, once he undoes his hakama, since the chacham that he goes to, what is he doing when you're doing a she'ela on your hakama? You're oker the neder, meaning you're oker your hakama. Oker means to uproot. Hareu ke'ilu lo hekim kalal. It's as if he did not do hakama at all. So he's saying it should be that when a guy, so the lady makes a neder, when the father does hafara, the husband does hakama, kiyum, no, I agree, and then he undoes the kiyum. Undoes means totally undoes it as if he never did anything. And he's bringing a proof to that. Like we learned, like it says in the Perek HaIsh Mekadesh, Masechet Kiddushin. Let's say a man, he says, I'm marrying you on condition that you don't have nedarim attached to you. Like, I'm marrying you now on a clean slate, that you don't have, oh, by the way, after we get married, you're going to tell me, oh, by the way, I made a neder, I owe this guy money, I made a neder, I have to go to visit my friend every year, or whatever, right? Making sure there's no nedarim on her. So and they found, oh, she does have nedarim, and the kiddushin doesn't work because they found that she has nedarim attached to her. She went to a chacham and undid the nedarim. Right away, the kiddushin works. So imagine the guy, he gave her the ring. He says, "Aret mikudeshet li v'tabadzu al menat she'en lach nedarim." That was the whole thing. On condition you don't. And she agreed, yes. And she took the ring. Mazel tov, mazel tov, mazel tov. And they find out later that day or whatever it is, oh, she has nedarim. The rabbi's enemy kudeshet. Like, sorry, you're not married. She was a rabbi, really not married. No, please, this. I didn't realize if I would have known this, petach, whatever it was. They undo the neder. Mekudeshet, siman tov, mazel tov. He doesn't have to do anything else. He already gave the ring. It undoes. So what he's saying is, it undoes, through going to the chacham, it undoes her nedarim, and has a mekudeshet. How? Says the Rashba, continuing, Techashivinan la keilu lo haya alea nedarim kalal b'shat kiddushin. It's considered as if she has no nedarim on her at all at the time of the kiddushin. Hachanami lebatar di. So too over here, it should be the same thing. After you ask on your hakama, it should be looked at l'hai gavra, this man, as if he didn't do hakama at all. So why over here are we saying you need to do hafara? This one does kiyum and then he undoes his kiyum. Oh, sorry, you don't. It's not good, and the neder still stands. Why? When marriage, the guy says al menach nedarim, and then they find out she has nedarim. She goes to the chacham right there, does hafara nedar, does tarat nedarim, and then the kiddushin works because it's as if she didn't do any nedarim at all. Here too, it should be as if he didn't do a hakama at all. Says the Ran, uledidi lav kushahi klal. According to me, says the Ran, this is not a question at all. The kiddushin mitoch shehu maaseh. And he wants to say there's a difference between kiddushin and our case of hafara. The Rashba wanted to connect the two. The Ran says no. The two are different cases. The kiddushin mitoch shehu maaseh gamur. By kiddushin, it's a maaseh gamur. What's a maaseh gamur? Meaning it's a full action. He is doing an action of marriage. He rented a hall, he has people there, this, that. He's doing an action of giving her a ring. He's doing a full action to marry her. Afagav de kol zman shelo hitira lochayli, even though kol zman, as long as she did not do a hatarat nedarim, it doesn't work. Ki hitira, but once she does do the hatarat nedarim, amrin, we say, the iglai milta de meikar chayli. We say that it reveals that what was done with the kiddushin actually works, because it was such a strong maaseh this guy did to marry her, and now that there's a block, so you remove the block, the marriage stands because he did a full maaseh. Aval hafarad dechad mehani kalsha means weak, kalush. Hafara of one is kalush. Kalsha latfe the be'ape nafshi lav midihi. A hafara of one on its own is nothing. You need both of them to do hafara. Ela bitzirufa de idach. You need a tziruf, you need a connection to the other one. So, and he continues, va'afilu bitzirufa, the first widest line, va'afilu bitzirufa de be'idach, the idach, even with a connection with the other, lo ma'ani, it doesn't work. Kol zman she'enim re'uim nitztaref b'yachad. Kol zman they can't work together, it doesn't go. Because the Tanya brings a proof. Dehefer echad mehem umet, and the other guy died. Ubatla la hafarato. Hilkach kevan de hafara dechad. Therefore, hafara of one, afilu ki lo hekim chavre kli shatuva. It's very weak. You need a kafara of both. Hafara of one is very weak. Kol hecha de hekim kli shatuva. Kol hecha de hekim kevan de ahisha ata lo chaz l'trufe. Since at that moment that you just did, there's just one, it's and now the other one did a hakama. There's no connection here. So therefore that hakama it undoes it all. Since it doesn't work at that time, it doesn't work at a later time as well. So he explains it like this: the marriage is a big action. You do a whole wedding, you're giving her a ring, and now, but that action is blocked by her nedarim. You do hafara nedarim, it undoes it, and now this big action takes it over. By here, you need two to do hafara nedarim. When one does hafara nedarim, it's not such a strong action because you need the other one to do it. You need the two together. So when one says hafara, thank you, but we need the other guy. Now, when the other guy does a hakama, it weakened the first guy's hafara. That's it. The story's over. You did a hakama, you did a hafara. Now we for sure know the story's over. Like in the case of hafara, and the other guy's quiet. Oh, we're still waiting. What are you going to do? Are you going to do hafara hakama? Or right? Or if you're going to remain quiet, then you accepted the neder. So it's like a kiyum, but you could still change your mind. But this guy does hafara. This guy does hakama. That's it. The story's over. Now you undo your hafara. You undo your hakama to say hafara. You can't bring that weak thing out of death to back to life. You can't, like there's a hafara on this side, hakama on this side, story's over. That's it. Goodbye, Charlie. Now the guy undoes his hakama. Says, no, I want to do hafara now also. So that to resurrect that hafara, because now you did a hatara on your hakama. It's a weak action. You didn't have a ring here. You didn't like do something. It was just a quick thing with your mouth. It wasn't such a strong action. That weak action. He says he can't compare marriage and this weak action. So once it's a hafara of one is very weak because you need both. So it's like hafara of one is very weak. And now you do hakama. It ends the story. Now you undo that hakama by saying hafara also. You can't resurrect that first hafara, and the whole thing was weak, and it remains undone. As opposed to, when it comes to a wedding, you're doing a whole big action over here. It's a big thing to marry someone. It's not just a hafara on apples, or hafara. There's a big thing, big deal over here. Oh, there's a little bit of a block. She has nedarim. Then all of a sudden she realizes, oh, she does have nedarim. She runs away, runs quickly to do the hafara nedarim, hatara nedarim. She gets that nedarim, then the marriage sticks because that strong action it's like a water pushing against the small dam, right? That's the action of a kiddushin over here. There's something very strong going on over here. I have a little blockage. Once I remove that blockage, the kiddushin comes in, and that strong action takes over.
And if she refuses, then you have to do like a get or
no, I think nothing. I think the whole thing doesn't work out.
If one of the nedarim is very strong, like against the kiddushin itself, like she says something about I'm never.
Like I'm never getting married. Yeah, I'm never.
Right.
Right.
It gets complicated because then she's forced to like do a Nedarim.
No, she's not forced to. Saying this, we're not forcing her to do that
really
Nedarim.
keep the kid.
That type
Can't
of.
keep both. Yeah.
Yeah, she can't keep both, but she's never forced to do Hatar Nedarim. So if she does Hatar Nedarim, at the end she's like, I didn't realize, what. I said that when I was too young. I didn't realize what that meant, and
We're assuming that she'll regret at some point because she married.
yeah, she took it on to marry the person. Yeah. Okay, Chazaku Baruch. There's a nice run over here with the Rashba, and we will continue tomorrow night from the two dots. With Hashem. Have a good day, Mr. Bigzer. Enjoy the weather.